Alright, welcome back. Today we'll be looking at what is the Matrix. Now I think the best place to start here is let's look at what is the Matrix according to Morpheus, who is the very first person who ever explained what the Matrix is. And as far as I'm concerned, Morpheus's definition is the only definition that really counts. So Morpheus says, the Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us, even now in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. So he's certainly given us a few tangible clues there. He mentions television, work, church, taxes. The world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. And then John Wick says, "What truth?" And Morpheus responds that you are a slave, John Wick. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, into a prison that you cannot taste or see or touch. A prison for your mind. So another clue he's pointing at here is that the Matrix is essentially mind control. Morpheus also clearly states that the blue pill is about staying within the Matrix, therefore within mind control, and that the red pill is to break out of the Matrix and to see how far the rabbit hole goes. And eventually you'll learn that the bottom of the rabbit hole is that the Matrix is a computer-generated fake world created so that machines can harvest human energy. So basically, the Matrix is a system of energy harvesting. Morpheus goes on to say, you have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged, and many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will fight to protect it. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. The Matrix is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this. And he holds up a battery. Once again, suggesting that the Matrix is a computer-generated dream world illusion built to control people to harvest their energy. Now I had to start by making that all clear because the Matrix is slowly becoming whatever you want it to be. And terms like red pilled now means almost anything. I know specifically on Twitter, red pilled seems to mostly mean like pickup artist stuff. And the original term of red pilled on Twitter has basically completely disappeared. You know, the world is really becoming a ball of confusion. No one knows if they are coming or going. No one knows the definition of words. And communication between different parties is more than often a complete illusion, as everyone has their own personal definitions or group definitions for these words, and the original meaning is all but completely lost. So yeah, I've noticed that this is basically a trend. People just keep redefining words and concepts to the point where no one knows what the fuck anyone else is talking about because everyone has their own personal definitions. People also think they are so fucking smart just by redefining words. And it works too. People are constantly wowed by this nonsense. Any moron can redefine existing terms. It seems the gormless masses don't notice any of this and just go along with the new definitions. And it's reached the point of no one knows anything. No one can define anything. No one derives meaning from anything. And I do think this was ultimately a goal of all of this confusion. People are constantly writing in video titles and tweets and things what insert word means to me. Some of the favorites are success, wealth, and freedom. These words have been infinitely redefined to the point where they mean basically nothing. I'm so sick of people saying that freedom is money. What a load of nonsense. So in more recent times, this guy Andrew Tate has come up with his own term of the Matrix, and it's basically the 9-to-5 slavery system, as he would call it, and that he says he's escaped the Matrix, and that if you give him fucking whatever, $50 a month or something, he can teach you how to escape the Matrix.
I'm top G. You think you're smart? I bought this coin and it's going up. You could have bought any coin and it went up in the last year. The Matrix was broken.
Hustlers University is the greatest thing that exists on the face of the planet for people who are trying to escape the Matrix. Become Hustlers University. Welcome to the metaverse. Inject it into your brain. You can skip university, you can buy my program, and I guarantee you will know everything you need to know. Have you ever seen a college professor with an S53 and a McLaren and a Lambo and an Aston Martin standing next to a Porsche? No, you've never seen any of this. I know how to make cash.
Is Andrew Tate really free of the Matrix? Is there any truth in this? I would say absolutely not. In fact, more likely, he's most likely an Agent Smith type character who works for the Matrix. That's basically how I would see it. Now, basically, the guy has a shitload of wealth and fame, which to me implies that he is entirely reliant upon the Matrix. And if he ever truly fucks up, the Matrix will take all that stuff away from him. And when we look at what he did, it's how did he make this money? Well, basically, he's a liar. He lies all the time.
First off, how long ago was your webcam business?
Yeah, so I stopped having any involvement with it, I think 8 to 9 years ago.
The last 2 to 3 years, I've been making money on OnlyFans from its inception all the way up till now. I'm currently filming this during the COVID pandemic. You may be watching this later on, but right now during the pandemic.
And I ended up opening a webcam company where girls would sit on a laptop and they would talk to guys on the internet for money. That's what they would do.
It's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm taking over. So what I did is I unplugged their keyboards and plugged a new one in from me behind the screen. So the chicks would sit there and hit a keyboard that wasn't plugged in. And me and my brother, and eventually some staff I trained, would do all the talking.
The girls would sit there fully clothed or a bikini.
The girls were just famoosers, just laughing and doing this, their titties out.
One, I intimately understand the relationship between men and these websites.
And they were talking to fucking ice cold hustlers. We were taking their money, all of it.
I've had and seen men give away their life savings to girls they'd never met. I've watched and I've seen it.
And they'd come and say, what kind of, all of it. We were fucking milking them dry.
And I actually think a lot of the insights I give.
I had these guys selling their houses, life savings, loans, all of it to me. Give me it all.
A lot of the things I tell the world about the male mental health crisis.
You'd have a guy.
Feel bad or no?
Fuck no. To give a solitary fuck.
About men being so constantly lonely.
We got to the point where we had these guys falling in love with my models. Serious, big time in love, right? Sending crazy money. And they were convinced they were going to meet the chick. This is almost where I kind of felt bad.
About how important it is to build yourself into a high value man.
Because they were like, can we meet? I've sent you $200,000. Can we meet? Can we meet? Can we meet?
200.
About how money alone is not enough.
The problem
What was
is,
the most that one person sent to a model? Total.
million?
Wow. Wow.
About a mil in about a year?
You don't feel bad at all.
Why the fuck would I care?
Yeah, I don't feel bad.
You should avoid, if you're a dishonest person, if you lie, if you're going to deceive me, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. I don't want to have anything to do with you.
We fucking killed the game. Millions of dollars a week. And it was not just because I had beautiful girls. It's not because webcam is easy. It's because I am a genius. And I put together an apparatus of genius behind the avatar of beauty. And we fucking conquered the internet.
It's all massively hypocritical.
So he used to sell women to weak men. Now he sells unrealistic dreams to simps. It's basically the same business model, but in a different angle. His dad was CIA. He's constantly interviewed by assets, mainstream media assets, which are all basically intelligence assets. He's probably more a part of the illusion than someone who's free of the Matrix. He got arrested and then miraculously released, and nothing really happened there. However, real dissidents get extremely harsh sentences. I would use as a typical example of this a Julian Assange. And none of this happened to Andrew Tate at all. To me, the whole thing looks like a bunch... It looks fake and gay. I think it's pretty clear that Andrew Tate is an agent of the Matrix. And that explains him quite well. Even people like David Icke have called this guy out. Like, where did this guy come from? He seems to be stealing up the voices of the dissident side of the internet. David Icke's not buying it. A lot of other people are not buying it. But certainly, I'd say the vast majority of people out there are buying into this guy. And I think, in truth, that is the purpose of him. To make people feel like they can escape the Matrix by sending him money or some shit, but really, he's just part of the Matrix, and I doubt any of his followers at all have made it out. They have just found themselves deeper and deeper in the Matrix. Now, Andrew Tate might have said a few things that are kind of controversial or whatever, but it really doesn't outweigh the lies and the bullshit and the scammy, pimpy, fucking CIA type bullshit. Now, I don't think Andrew Tate is such a bad guy, compared to the real bad guys out there. Although, he may have been involved in, like, human trafficking and stuff. I don't know. He probably is involved in some bad shit, but at the end of the day, he's not one of the real bad guys. But I think he's an epic bullshit artist, and he gets caught lying all the time. I remember he said that he only shaves his head because he wants to, not because he's bald or anything. He said he has a full head of hair. And then, within months of that, you can see the guy's basically bald. So, he's a mad bullshitter. But, the public loves a good bullshitter. Then I saw, now it's interesting when I thought of making this video, a video just popped up on my screen on YouTube from a guy called TechLead Show, who's like an ex-Google employee who now has a big following on YouTube. His video title was, "What is the Matrix?" And he said, like, it had Andrew Tate in the title and all this stuff, and I thought, wow, that's interesting, so I better watch this. And so I'll go through this guy's video, because he has his take on the Matrix. Quite an interesting video, I think mostly very valid, definitely worth watching. So TechLead Show, he also says that he's free of the Matrix. He doesn't really explain how so, he's just not a 9-to-5 employee. The one thing we do know about this guy is that he worked for Google, so he was also an agent of the Matrix. Now, I've literally heard people say this shit, like, I got a job at Google, I just escaped the Matrix. It's like, nigga, you work for the Matrix. Like, no one working for Silicon Valley has escaped the fucking Matrix, alright? You are an agent of the Matrix. You're fully dependent on the Matrix, and you contribute to the Matrix. There are other people claiming, oh, I make 10K a month, I've escaped the Matrix. And it's like, the bar has been set very low. The Matrix to these people is just wage slavery, and that's it. And as Morpheus explained, the Matrix goes way deeper than just being a wage slave. You could say a wage slave is your generic bottom-of-the-barrel Matrix enthusiast, but it goes way deeper than that. So then TechLead Show goes on to talk about the deep state conspiracy theories. But how far does the deep state go really? These people leave it at sort of shadowy behind the government figures, lobbyists, people like Henry Kissinger, things like that. But not many people talk about the spiritual entities, loosh harvesting archons, parasitic alien consciousness. And most people don't want to take it that far. He also talks of the dark forest, which is big money interests and big power interests operating behind the government. And they create the lie of society to be a good moral slave, follow the rules, be a good slave.
Well, you have to follow the rules, put your mask on, get your vaccine shots, work really hard, have discipline, and just put in your 9 to 5 hours every single day for the rest of your life until you've just whittled away your whole entire life, like cattle, fed to slaughter by the elites.
And then he goes on to list a few rules that he has gauged from all of this. Rule number 1, there is no right or wrong. This is not a good start.
Rule number 1 of surviving in the Matrix is understanding that there is no right or wrong. And that oftentimes these very concepts of right or wrong, moral superiority, and virtue signaling are used to coerce you into certain actions to make you do quote-unquote the right thing. But the thing to understand is all of us are already criminals already. We just haven't been convicted yet, but there are enough laws made out there. There's millions of laws, and you can be convicted of any one of these at any moment that you say the wrong thing, if the government really wants to come against you.
But according to him, the entire world is made out of virtue signaling, moral superiority types, and that he suggests that we're actually all criminals according to state law. That there are so many laws out there that if we were all investigated, we'd all end up being criminals in some way. Therefore, there's no right or wrong. Morality doesn't actually exist. And then he says you should just do whatever you want and appeal to self-interest, because that's what the elites are doing. That's what you should do. And all this morality and rules, it's all bullshit anyway. It's just made up to keep the slaves on the reserve.
And so what is right or wrong? It actually differs based on country to country. In some countries, certain things are legal or illegal. And so in the US, actually, you have all these special interest political groups and lobbying groups that are defining the laws of what is right or wrong. We even have equal employment opportunity laws that legalize racial discrimination based on your skin color for job applications, college applications. I mean, this should be illegal, but enough special interest politics groups push this type of law through. You take a look at Black Lives Matter, where the founders bought themselves these mansions. After all that virtue signaling, it was not really about good or bad. It was really just about acquiring power and wealth. There is no good or bad. If there were, we're probably all bad. And there's no fairness either. The law is applied unfairly, selectively. And the problem is, all of us had been taught to be good kids, to be fair to one another. It's so instinctual in each of us, but that's just not how the world works. You should just do whatever you want in your own interests. Morality and virtue be damned, good or bad, because those are concepts invented by special interest groups to enslave you in the first place.
That really, the purpose of morality as it's put forward to the public is to be accepted by society and to fit into society.
Right? The real purpose of trying to be a good person is so that you're accepted by society and that you're considered a likable, workable person.
Therefore, it's much better to do whatever you want and appeal only to self-interest. Now, I would have to cut him off here because I don't know if he knows this. He probably doesn't. He probably just thinks he's very smart and all that, and he's sort of conquered morality. But this appeal to self-interest and doing whatever you want, that this is actually what's known as the Satanic philosophy. And this is the philosophy of a Satanist and the elites who go around doing whatever they want. They don't give a fuck about how it hurts people, what it does to the world or to society, to the environment. They don't give a fuck. As long as it serves their self-interest, they'll do it. And they don't give a fuck about anything else. This is what's known as the Satanic philosophy. This is the philosophy of the nihilist and the moral relativist. And it is truly a cancer in the modern society. And many intelligent people, like this TechLead show guy, think they're very fucking smart thinking this way, but it's nothing new and it's nothing intelligent. It's actually a massive problem. And it goes a long way in explaining why society is so fucked up these days. And it's really dog eat dog out there, and a lot of people are suffering. So we can do much better than this. For thousands of years now, several spiritual teachers out there, philosophers, have shown us that the path of virtue is far superior to the path of self-interest. And two simple rules that are easy to remember, easy to understand, easy to implement, blow this Satanic philosophy out of the water. The Satanic philosophy leads to a dog-eat-dog world where everyone is at war with everyone else, no one can be trusted. Basically the world we live in now. But there are two rules that can at least help us get away from this Satanic philosophy. Number one, do not initiate harm against another. That if you do initiate harm against another, you are always in the wrong. Now this is not to say that you shouldn't defend yourself if someone initiates harm upon you, but if you are the initiator, you are always in the wrong. And the other one would be the golden rule of the Christ, which probably didn't originate with Christ, but most people would associate it with Christ. And that is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And these two ideas completely crush the Satanic philosophy, and it should be obvious immediately on the face of it that both of these moral statements are far superior to the Satanic philosophy, and that if everyone followed these two rules, the world would be an infinitely better place than it is now. So, TechLead show goes on to say that truth does not exist, it's whatever you want to be, probably should just succumb to the Matrix because it's far too lonely otherwise. And the idea that truth does not exist is just more moral relativism, nihilism, and really what it is a rejection of natural law. The truth absolutely does exist, and it can be found in natural law. And really, what the modern world is a perfect example of what happens when people fall away from natural law. You could say modern society is a perfect example to show the existence of natural law and what happens when you don't guide society in line with natural law. So then he goes on to rule number 2. that dark money is everywhere, funding special interest groups, and to not believe the lies. And he's absolutely right on this one, that money is a fucking joke. Money has no real reality to it at all. The current money system is basically Kabbalistic black magic. They print money out of nowhere, inflate it, charge compound interest on it, which can't be paid back. It's basically a type of black hole mathematics. And it's a trick, it's black magic, and it's a scam.
You see, we live in a dark forest. You cannot see it, but there's a lot of dark money, billions of dollars of dark money swirling around you, propping up the institutions, businesses, and products that build up your life. You're the cattle inside, and it's funded by these oligarchs and owed money. And these people have trillions of dollars who establish these institutions, nonprofits, and organizations. And so that's principle number 2, understanding you're in a dark forest surrounded by billions of dollars of dark money, which has a purpose. It's doing something out there, and to just not trust anything you see or hear, especially on, say, social media or the mainstream media.
And he's absolutely right on that. And that, yeah, the money that you have in your pocket is nothing compared to the black budgets and dark money that moves in hidden bank accounts and money laundering scams and all that underneath the surface. And that really money is a total fucking illusion. Also that this money is really used to fund the Matrix, to create all these, political movements and groups, and that it's all just about paying people off to go along with lies. Create lies, perpetuate lies, all that. And really all of this peaked with the COVID pandemic, which is one of the biggest, most all-pervasive lies that has ever hit planet Earth and humanity, and it was all based on dark money. So rule number 3, he says, is working hard is a scam.
All right, now the third point here is working hard is a scam. It's not about hard work. These people didn't work hard to become rich and successful, right? Like, they're just printing billions and trillions of dollars of money and then using that to buy your time, to enslave you, to make you do things, give them stuff.
You are encouraged to do all this to basically serve the system. He also says that college is a scam. And he says that the rich don't really work very hard. And all of this is, of course, true. I wouldn't say working hard is a scam necessarily. In most cases it is. But if you're working hard for yourself or for your family, rather than the system, I could hardly say that this is a scam. Or, I don't know, you're working hard to build a physique or learn a technique. These are not scams. But he's saying when you've been trained to work for the system, to climb the corporate ladder and all that, that this is a scam, because no matter how hard you work, you'll never even get close to the amount of money that some rich guy makes by sitting on his ass basically doing nothing, because he has invested his money in a smart way, not a hard way. And really that money is made by working smart, not by working hard.
Tell them you can work hard if you like, but the path to real success is not to work hard, it's to work smart.
And in truth, the people out there with the most money don't really work at all. They just parasite off other people, or they're part of the dark money system. And they basically get paid to sell out their fellow man or perpetuate lies. Classic example would be the supposed leader of Hamas, who's completely paid off by Israel, and the guy has like $11 billion and is living in Qatar while the Palestinians get slaughtered and he contributes nothing to their efforts. But what's interesting about rule number 3 is that Lead Tech Show offers no solution to this whatsoever. He basically suggests that you should just become poor and accept that you're a fucking loser. And I think basically it's something of a precursor to accepting universal basic income.
Now, there's a number of ways you can deal with this. First, you can't just give up. Secondly, you can buy into the system and just put in the hard work and become a wage slave and accept your lot in life. And then third, of course, is you can break out of that matrix. You can go down that path of chaotic evil in which you're just morally an evil human being. You're not working hard at all. You're just living it up. And who knows, you may find yourself wildly successful in the process.
This guy basically believes that work is over, income is over, money is a thing of the past, and we're moving on to something else. Now, I do agree with him that all of this is a scam, and it's all bullshit, and you're competing with people who have trillions of dollars, who move it all underneath the radar. But I think there is a solution to this, and it's been another thing that's known for thousands of years. To know thyself, to follow your passion, to find a purpose and follow it. Not to try and be successful, whatever the fuck that is, or whatever the fuck people think it is. To seek vocation, not employment, to follow your bliss, and most importantly, to make the world a better place. Now, no amount of just working hard for the system or sitting on your ass doing nothing collecting universal basic income is contributing to any of this. It is clearly obvious to me that it is far superior to seek purpose and meaning, vocation, and to improve the world over trying to fit into these bullshit systems or appear successful in the eyes of all these people who don't give a fuck about you anyway. So he basically finishes it off with rule number 4. Lay low, don't make yourself a target, just play the game.
And I have a fourth rule, which is to lay low and to not make yourself a target. If you're in the dark forest, surrounded by these billion-dollar snakes who will selectively attack you if you speak up, then you want to avoid becoming a target and to just play the game. And this is partially where I began to diverge with truth proponents like Elon Musk, Vivek, or Donald Trump, who say truth matters because, in my view, there is no real truth.
There is no truth. Truth has been forgotten long ago. There are no rules. Now again, this is a massive failure. He's decided to lay low, not make himself a target and all that. And I'm sure he thinks it's very smart for everyone else to do that. That's a very Asian approach to life. But sounds like an absolute fail to me. And to recognize that the world is a corrupt bullshit system and that you're just going to go along with it for the sake of not making yourself a target, just become a slave and do whatever you're told. Why not? But I would say that the problem with what he's saying is that there is truth. That our system is set up to lead you away from truth, and that he's missed out on this. The truth is natural law. Truth is that which is, not that which is not. There is that which is, and that is truth. Love is truth. On the material level, cause and effect exists. So he says basically the elites have constructed a sandbox for you to play in to keep you away from them so that they can do as they please.
What we need to understand is that these people have constructed a playground for us, a little sandbox, the matrix for us to run around in. And not only is this a place for us to whittle away our lives, but of utmost importance is that we do not revolt. Because the most dangerous thing to an elite group of people is that the public actually revolt and were to come after these people. So if there are enough diversions to keep the people mindlessly entertained through Netflix specials and entertainment news, gossip, drama, or to keep us fighting with one another with all of these political fights and drama, left versus right, then they'll be able to sit back in their vacation villas or yachts and just know that nobody's going to come after them because they're too busy coming after each other.
And so that you don't revolt. So it's strange that he recognizes this, but then he says, well, basically, you should go along with it all because they can do whatever they want and you really can't revolt anyway and there's nothing you can do about it. And I would say that history shows that's absolutely not true. That often when people do revolt, that everything completely changes. Now, the problem is that new systems keep arising. And this is because people never really learn the lessons of history and they keep falling back into being tricked by these so-called elites and that. They always fall away from natural law. They do not follow virtue. They do not follow the rules of the Christ. They always fall back into the same bullshit. And I guess one could be forgiven for saying that this process will go on forever. But to me, that is a very heavily defeatist, deterministic worldview. I could never live that way and I could never accept that. So then he goes on to say that Tate and Elon Musk are the type of people who've decided to go up against the system, which is, pretty fucking hilarious, right? But that's what he thinks.
So in my view, this is what people like Andrew Tate are speaking up and going up against. And the difference between he and I, at least I think, is that he's fighting this battle. He thinks he can actually win it, whereas I've kind of just I think that it's not winnable. This matrix is so deeply ingrained and systemic, coursing through every single transaction. I mean, it is tied with our money at the highest levels of government, tied into our education system, tied into the textbooks that are given to children. Like, who's writing the textbooks? Who's funding all of this? The system is interwoven with all of our mainstream media, with every war that we fight against Russia, against Palestine, through the Federal Reserve into our very money. I mean, that's how deep this corruption runs. So can you really win against this? Can you even really fix any of this system? Or do you just need to just swap the whole thing out? Because part of the problem is there are people out there with hundreds of trillions of dollars, and they will always be able to enslave anybody, unless you've got something like Bitcoin, which just swaps out the whole money system. Maybe Bitcoin is hope, or at least a chance to establish a new set of global elites who have a different set of incentives, perhaps.
I remember it's funny also, this tech guy, he's like, Andrew Tate really inspired me. But he's like, I can't understand where this guy got all this money from and how he's able to live the way he does. It's like, yeah, because the guy's a fucking agent, man. It's all bullshit. But whatever, he doesn't get that.
I will say, you have to take what he says with a grain of salt, because I think a lot of his character is an act, right? Like, some things just don't line up in his story. Like, he'll say he owns 10, 20 cars, and then he'll say he owns nothing at the same time. But what he says can be inspiring, maybe to get you to be a little bit more aggressive about the things you want out of life, because he portrays this character as living large. Now, I will also comment that this aggression and arrogance of character isn't going to fly everywhere. Maybe it works in some Eastern European countries, but for example, in Japan, if you go around with this blazing arrogance of a character, people aren't going to take lightly or kindly to that. Now, first up, Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate has misled an entire generation of young men and women, quite frankly. People like Andrew Tate, they're fictional personas, quite frankly. Like, he seems to never be wrong, and it's like, a lot of the stuff he does is actually super cheap. I think he's a fictional persona, and a lot of the women he surrounds himself with are actually just his employees from his webcam business. So my take is he doesn't actually have a bunch of women. On Twitter, he has this account he follows, Top Girl Keiko. I think that's his alt because he just likes everything on there. So that alt account posts exactly in the same writing style that Tate does. It calls people dorks just like he does. Tate ends up liking every single one of the posts. But it is relevant to note that he became rich by telling you that he's rich and then you want to be like him. And it's really just this circular logic. And there's just no factual grounding behind any of this. And I don't want to just single out Andrew Tate here, because all of social media is fabricating these characters that are built to sell based on external validation, such as fancy cars, fancy watches, when in reality, like, a lot of these status symbols only cover up insecurities inside. And the fastest car is basically like some electric car, like a Tesla or something. Like, you don't need a $500,000 Lambo. And the best watch, probably like an Apple Watch. Those old Rolexes and Timexes are made to show off on social media. That's almost their exclusive purpose.
So I think in reality, what you'll find is both Andrew Tate and the TechLead guy, both of these guys work for the system. They're basically, both of them are part of the matrix. And that really explains the whole thing to me. These guys have not escaped anything. They're not helping people escape anything. They are Agent Smiths bringing people back into the matrix, telling people you can never defeat the matrix, or that defeating the matrix is going this way, and it's all bullshit. These people are both products of the matrix. They need the matrix. They work for the matrix. He also suggests that Bitcoin could be the answer, that maybe one way we could get out of this system is to completely change the system. And obviously, this is the point where he gets the closest to the truth. Obviously, if we didn't have a black hole money system where people could launder money and all this bullshit, we would be living in a very different world. And that's certainly what the anarcho-capitalists figured out. But I think you'll find, upon investigation, that it's most likely that Bitcoin, and most of crypto too, is just a part of the matrix. That Bitcoin almost certainly comes out of intelligence agencies. There's many clues to this. And the fact that no one can really pin down who these people are also lends to this. So yeah, I think Bitcoin is basically another intelligence op. Maybe something like Monero's more likely. Even something like Monero could, it's possible, have come out of intelligence agencies. I don't know about that. I would certainly say for now, it looks like Monero is the sort of thing that could completely change the way that the economy works. But will people take this up en masse? I think that's very unlikely. I think Monero is the sort of thing that can be used to create a parallel economy, and is largely being used to do that. But I do not think it's the sort of thing that could replace the existing system. The way I see it, the only thing that can really replace the existing system is a change in consciousness. This is the only thing we have, and that would be a mass exodus from the matrix. Now, is that possible? Only time will tell. But I like to think that it is possible. In fact, I know it's possible. It's just a matter of if are people going to do it or not. And from my own perspective, it doesn't really matter what the majority of, even if the majority of people are in the matrix and perpetuate it and all that, there is still room for a minority to escape and to build a parallel existence. So yes, success is defined by society as a successful slave and a successful adherent to the matrix. Most of the people out there who people point to as being successful and all that are successful within the matrix. They have won the rat race, they're the best rat, all that kind of thing. But they are certainly not outside of it. I would say that a successful person has answered the call of Geist and is doing thy will despite the matrix. They have found purpose and they are doing what they set out to do despite the matrix. Yes, then TechLead guy goes on to suggest that maybe he is the example of success. And yeah, if he's truly doing what he set out to do, then he's a success. But the idea that he's outside the matrix is total horseshit. He says the path of resistance and of selfhood is lonely and therefore not worth it.
And I would say the only real problem with this path, the red pill path, is that it is a very lonely path, that you'll probably walk alone, and I'm not sure if it's worth being alone for, because all of your friends and all the other normal people and mainstream masses will be still out there engaging with society, working their 9-to-5 wage slave jobs, and maybe you want to actually be part of that group. The only cost is really your entire life and your freedom, but that may be worth paying.
What a cop-out. And yes, I think most people who resist the system and are seeking a path of selfhood find this attitude totally unacceptable. And in reality, there are millions of people on this path. It's not necessarily lonely. It can be lonely in certain situations, but it doesn't have to be lonely. And yeah, there are millions of people on the path. And he says that the normie life is actually pretty good. Freedom is lonely, but the normies are all happy together.
It's actually a pretty decent life that they've laid out for us cattle, in which you go to school, you get into debt, and then you pay off that debt, at which point you get slaughtered. Right, that's the end of your life. It works for many people. You get to socialize with your fellow cattle and watch some TV on the mainstream media. And the only problem may be that you never really get to experience true freedom. But that would be a lonely path anyways. And so the best may be to take all good things in moderation, take some of the blue pill, some of that red pill, and maybe make a mixed purple pill in the end.
And he says all things in moderation. Take some blue pills, take some red pills, and that this is winning. Sort of fitting into the matrix, taking some red pills. And yeah, maybe, and I think this is exactly what the system wants you to be in the modern world, is to make you feel like you're taking some red pills and all that, when all you're really doing is perpetuating the system. But I think the greater truth here that he's really alluding to is that most of the people out there are actually probably better off under the matrix. And without the matrix, probably a lot of these people wouldn't even be able to survive. They wouldn't be able to handle it. And really, the path of resistance, the path of selfhood, the path of finding purpose and doing thy will is actually beyond most of these normies. And really, these people probably just don't have it in them. This does seem to be the case. I don't think selfhood and purpose is for the average person. I think the average person out there is a slave. They were born to be a slave. They are a slave. And they're never going to try and be anything but a slave. They're not even aware that they are a slave. This seems to be what life is for most people. It seems it's basically always been this way. And for them, it seems to be pretty good. They don't know any better, and they certainly don't appreciate anyone coming along to try and pull them out of the matrix or explain to them that it's all bullshit, and they don't get it anyway. I mean, this is strange, but it does seem to be the way the world is. And maybe the best thing here is to let the normie be. But the big problem is that the matrix harvests these people's energy and has grown obscenely powerful. And this is where the real problem comes from, is that the matrix has used these masses of normies as a weapon against those on the path of selfhood. The institution is a weapon. The group is a weapon. And that weapon can be leveraged against the individuals and those not going along with this bullshit, and that can make life quite difficult. So often one on the path of selfhood has to appear to blend in with society, to go grey, if you will, and sort of blend in and become unnoticed within society. And some of us prefer to just stick out in our own way, and it's basically my belief, and the belief of most practitioners and such out there, that if you are in line with your will, if you are doing thy will, that the rules don't really apply to you. You are the exception, and you're basically protected. This is certainly what David Icke believes. This is what most of the people who I follow believe, and I think we're all living examples that this is true. That actually there is room for us in the world, and that the Matrix is trying to tear you away from that belief and make you believe that the only way that you can survive and get along and all that is to basically submit to the Matrix. And this is certainly what TechLead guy believes. It's what basically all of Asia believes. But really, this is not the path of the Western man. And the Western man always seeks individuality and will above all else to overcome the system, no matter how big and obtuse it gets. And that this has to be a greater path than just going along with an energy harvesting matrix. As I've said many times before, this is the story of Andy Dufresne, who breaks out of jail to find a better life. This is surely better than just submitting to the jail. How could it not be? Surely these type of people stand above those who just go along to get along. As the Christ said, to be in the world but not of it. TechLead guy is saying you should be in the world and also of it. Andrew Tate is saying, give me the fucking money. But I really think you can't do better than the man who is in the world but not of it, who is pursuing his own purpose despite the Matrix. So what is the Matrix? It's an illusion set up to distract you for the purpose of enslaving you and harvesting your energy. It's set up to drag you away from your purpose, to use you. The machine has enslaved people to ensure its own survival, and the system is bigger than any one person. Now everything is energy. Energy, frequency, and vibration. Money is materialized energy. It represents energy. And in our world, it's basically a lie. It's an illusion. And it's akin to black magic. Something from nothing is black magic. Compound interest, black hole mathematics is black magic. So they have essentially taken human energy en masse, channeled it into their black hole mathematics to suit themselves and to suck and take everything from humanity. But when you look out there, it is truly amazing what people have accomplished despite all of this. In reality, humanity does not exist and operate because of the Matrix. It operates in spite of the Matrix. I guess also another giant aspect to all this energy harvesting and stuff is that the Matrix is essentially based on a Gnostic worldview, which many people see as an absolute cancer that has been bought into and distributed throughout human consciousness. This idea that we live on some kind of a prison planet, that we're preyed on by these archon entities that suck and harvest energy, that the world is some kind of people farm where people only exist to be harvested by these greater entities, these parasitic entities who have created like some kind of energy farm, and that's what humanity is, and that the whole purpose of life is to escape this hell realm known as reality into some kind of spiritual escape. That this is a fallen world, nothing but sin and depravity and lies, and that the only purpose of life is to escape this fucking hellish prison into this godly spiritual realm. And that, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many others, this is an absolute failure of life, of philosophy. It's a trick. It's a trick of so-called wise men. It's a trick of these fake religious institutions. It's a trick of the system itself. And it preys upon the consciousness of humanity. But there is certainly a lot of truth to this. And because of these so-called wise men, really, in reality, dark magi, that a lot of people out there really are being harvested. And that these people live in fear, they're scared of reality, they're scared of death, they're scared of life. They're scared of their own fucking shadow. They're scared of themselves, and they're scared of everyone around them. Because of all this, humanity is held back, and many people have submitted to the system because of these corrupted worldviews. And really the trick is that if you can convince someone to believe that they live in a prison planet, then that person absolutely will be living in a prison planet. I would certainly suggest that one should take a look at reality and the beauty and magnificence of reality, and to realize that the prison planet model is a grand oversimplification and basically just a lie and a trick, and to not fall for it. Certainly, Nietzsche suggested that it is these people's view of the world being a prison planet that manifests the prison planet that they live in, and I would certainly agree with that. Now, you did not come here to be a fucking slave. You also didn't come here to fear reality and try to escape to some spiritual realm. You came here to master reality, to learn something and to progress. So really, at the end of the day, who is free of the Matrix? I would say pretty much nobody. We are all subject to the Matrix in one way or another. Probably the most free would be the self-sufficient, off-grid people who homeschool their children. I don't think you could get much more free than that. And really, I don't know how many people are doing that, but it's really not many. But I think there will be a trend towards this. But these are the people you never hear about, saying, "Oh, I'm free of the Matrix." You just don't hear from these people, and this is how you know that they're free. And really, I don't think most people in the modern world have it in them to be self-sufficient. They just simply would not make it. I guess then there are the truly homeless bums who are like insane and rambling to themselves. I guess to some degree, these people have escaped the Matrix. You've got your police, politicians, bankers, corporations, and the military. These are the Agent Smiths, and this actually makes up probably a majority of the developed world. Almost everyone's working for the system in some way or another. If not directly, then, indirectly. Welfare recipients are parasites who rely on the Matrix, and most people who work in government are no less parasites than welfare recipients. They're basically welfare recipients with a suit on, with a fake job. Big money, these, big rich people who are all claiming to have escaped the Matrix, most of these people pay tax, which fuels the Matrix, probably more than anything else. Many of these rich people simply see tax as a business expense, but it's much more than that. It really is. It's the money that's used to control others and to fund wars and extortion. But of course, the average taxpayer doesn't want to see this way and wants to look away. And as Morpheus explained, that is all part of the Matrix. I guess I would also point out that Andrew Tate is a Muslim, right? And Morpheus also pointed out that all these churches, these religions, it's all part of the Matrix. And, once you get down to the level of religion, you've got the vast majority of humanity at that point. So the intelligence agents, the mega wealthy, they rely entirely upon the Matrix. People who don't pay tax, trade in Monero and, gold, silver, stuff like that, are much more free, but not entirely. Even Diogenes relied upon donations from others. Probably an ascetic monk is mostly free of the Matrix. And I think one who is doing thy will is mostly free of the Matrix. Really, it comes down to how much of your time and energy is spent serving the system. Everything is an exchange of energy. Now, as far as I can tell, most people are completely unaware of this. They have no awareness of energy whatsoever. Most people don't have much awareness of anything, really. This is the NPC meme is very real. People are not aware, they are programmed, so really they don't even know why they do the things they do, and they've probably never even thought about it. They just do them, and they don't know why. But when people first become aware of energy, they're often shocked by how much energy they give away and how much they unwantingly absorb energy from others, often to their own detriment. Certainly when we look at the lowest elements of society, these people are often, sharing and distributing amongst each other extremely bad energy, and it's a really, dense, dark scene. It's based on the energy they share amongst each other. It is common to become resentful of others and angry at the self. Also hyper-suspicious of everyone and overly protective of their energy. This is people who start becoming aware of energy. This state should be overcome, but to a state where one is protective of energy through personal boundaries, but also comfortable in being able to let go and enjoy events and such without feeling super suspicious and reluctant of everyone. But generally, the more aware people are, the more protective they are of their energy, the more protective they are of what types of energy they allow themselves to put themselves in contact with. Now, I think more people are becoming aware of this these days, but as you can see, especially on the internet and in real life out there, most people are very unconscious of all of this. They're wide open to being manipulated by others. They're wide open to giving away all their energy. They're wide open to absorbing as much bad energy as they can possibly handle until they have massive issues. Mental breakdowns, they get incredibly sick, even death or total shutdown. Insanity, perversion, all the shit we see out there is a product of unprotected, unaware, unmanaged energy exchange. Now, the Matrix itself is the greatest energy vampire that was ever created, that serves a very small minority and just sucks the fucking life out of the world. This is exactly what drugs do to a lot of people. This is what the psychopaths, sociopath class, the succubus and incubus types out there feed off. One would do well to get in touch with energy, what it is, and how to identify it, and how to protect it. To identify energy and shifts in emotion, shifts in energy, and to pick up on energy. That yes, there are many entities out there, and psychopaths and such, energy vampires who actually feed off the emotional energy of other people, like borderline women. I've heard of succubus types out there who claim, there are women out there who claim to be able to survive entirely off the sexual energy of men. That there are some women out there who basically become prostitutes or whatever, or just really loose women, and they claim to be able to live entirely off the sexual energy of men. And I wouldn't necessarily say that that's bullshit. I mean, I haven't studied this, but I've heard about it many times, and I wouldn't dismiss it at all. Certainly in some of the Eastern cultures, there are people who claim to live off almost no food at all, or even no food whatsoever, and they just live off energy. But sensitivity of energy can absolutely be learned. One of the earliest examples is that people might notice a tightness in the chest during an emotional shift, and that the average person will not pick up on this and ride out that emotional energy to the point where they get out of control, where they, throw a fit, start fighting people, break down, completely lose it, that kind of thing. But if it's caught early, say that one was more in touch with their energy fields in their body, they might notice a tightness in the chest forming, and that they can loosen this tightness and bring themselves out of that energy through controlled breathing. Now, a lot of people already know how to do this, but they've never thought about it. Now, the average person, before they get out on stage, takes a huge breath in, or they count to 3 or something, and they do this as a ritual that brings their energy down, calms anxiety. There are many methods to do this sort of thing, and really there is a remedy that can be found within for just about every transfer of energy, for about every emotional imbalance, that all these things can be identified and cut off, and it's almost always through manipulation of the breath or the body or the mind. Thoughts and emotions can basically be cut off at their source and transmuted or reformed or brought under control. But this can only be done if one is aware. And obviously, the more one practices this sort of thing, the more aware one becomes, the more control they gain, and eventually it will be very hard to knock this sort of person off center, no matter what kind of propaganda you throw at them, no matter what kind of energetic bullshit or emotional programming you throw at them. The well-practiced, very aware and centered person is very difficult to knock off center. And all of this comes down to an awareness of energy. There are also people out there who like to channel the sexual energy, to remain abstinent for long periods of time, and they can transmute and channel that energy into like work, creativity, aggressiveness, exercise, spiritual progression, all kinds of these things, just to gain a higher level of self-control and a greater control of energy and such. But anyway, this goes on and on and on, and I could speak about this for ages, but basically this is what it comes down to. The Matrix is a giant energy harvesting system, and really the ones who break free of it the most are the ones who are the stewards of their own energy, who are aware of themselves, what they came here to do, and that they devote their energy to doing it and not doing what the system wants them to do. They don't perpetuate the lies of the system, they don't tell people to join the system, and really they work to help to set other people free, to do their will, and to make the world a better place. Despite this energy harvesting matrix set up by soulless, parasitic people and their hive mind, alien, parasitic consciousness. Now obviously the more of us that gain awareness of all this, the more likely it is that we will one day conquer this fucking beast. But until then, the Matrix is not fucking going anywhere, and it's something that we're all going to have to deal with in our own particular way. But I can tell you this much, no amount of giving money to someone like Andrew Tate or one of these fucking scammers is going to get you anywhere. But anyway, quite a lot to take in. These topics can go pretty deep, but I can't think of anything more relevant to the modern world than this. It's one of the reasons the Matrix is such a prevalent meme that is falling away from meaning in the modern world. People are getting very confused out there. But really, I'm trying to bring it all back into perspective with this video. Hopefully I've done that to some degree. But alright, I think I'll leave it there. Now, if anyone out there would like a tarot reading, I'm still doing those. So if you would like a tarot reading, send me an email. But alright, that's it. Good luck out there, everyone.